Courageous Self-Care podcast. I'm your host, Christina Marlette. On this show, we talk about self-care that is the whole shebang. It is not just about bubble baths, chocolate, and wine. It's not just about external self-care. It's not just about eating the right foods and doing the right kind of exercise and getting X amount of number hours of sleep. It's about also going inside to where it is mysterious and murky and kind of jungle-like. We don't know what is in there, and that's why we often need a guide. And so here I am thrilled to be sharing what I've spent the last few years developing, what I call Courageous Self-Care, and its 12 foundational skill sets. Today, we are talking about the question, is it time to dump discontent and loneliness? I hope your answer is yes. And it's interesting because we can become so used to being discontented, a deep, deep sense of discontent. We can become so used to being lonely that becomes our MO, and that's just how we think life is. But it doesn't have to be that way. Isn't that fantastic news? You can actually create what I've come to experience as this river, a constant river of deep content. It's the opposite of deep discontent. And even if I'm going through a roller coaster of emotions or experiences, that river is always flowing under the surface, and I know I can come back to it. I also used to be someone who did experience loneliness on a regular basis, and I've had a complete shift. I don't feel lonely anymore, ever. I just don't feel lonely. It's not something I experience. The reason why is because of the foundational skill set that has to do with getting connected. What does connection actually mean? It means establishing a meaningful link or relationship. And so today I'm going to be sharing some strategic ways that you can, if you're feeling, or perhaps wonder if you're feeling this deep discontent or you have pervasive loneliness, how you can shift out of that, start to shift out of that by getting connected. There are so many ways that we can feel disconnected. And over the next few episodes, we're going to explore some ways to get connected. So signs that you might be feeling disconnected include, again, feeling lonely. It might be the stagnation. You feel like you're blocked. You don't know what to do next. Or you might feel boredom with your life. What I want for you, what I want for women, what I want for humanity is for people to feel fully alive. That is what we're actually seeking. I heard a great speaker once say that people are getting all caught up in finding their purpose and living their passion. And she said, that's not actually what we want. What we want underneath is just to feel fully alive. To me, that felt really expansive because if we're focused on just living our purpose, that can be quite narrow. It can be limiting. Like, how can I justify doing this thing that I love if it's not on purpose, if it's not my destiny? That's big stuff. What we really want and what feels so wide and open is to live life feeling fully alive. And that comes from this wellspring of energy inside of us that we can cultivate. We can actually create it. Let's get into the goods. So get connected. And to do that, we're going to say yes to dumping the discontent and loneliness. So here is what I want to talk about next. Deep discontent comes from being disconnected from where we want to go and where we want to be. Those are two different things. Where we are right now in our lives in the present and what we envision for ourselves in the future. Now, a lot of people talk about, a lot of gurus talk about living in the present moment. And the best description I ever heard of that, because again, to me that just feels limiting. I personally cannot go through life saying, okay, I am taking a step now. I am focusing on the sole of my foot in contact with the ground. Now I am taking another step. That is definitely being present, but we cannot live there all the time, because being present, to me, just the way that it's presented most of the time, doesn't allow for reflection on the past or also for envisioning where we want our lives to go. So the best explanation I ever heard of being present was knowing where you are and who you are at this particular point in time, and also encompassing and accepting your past and having your vision for where you are headed. To me, this is perfectly summed up in an infinity symbol. So the center of the infinity symbol, like a number 8 turned on its side, is the present. And then you circle back towards the past, come through the present again, and circle towards the future, come back to the present. To me, that is the best way to get connected with all of these different aspects of you. I'm tracing out infinity symbols here in the air with my hand, because that is what being truly present means to me. Anyways, I loved that explanation. So deep discontent, we want to dump it. How do we do that? A few weeks ago, I heard that age-old question, and it really got me to thinking. This is a great question for helping you dump the discontent. The question is, if you could be 100% guaranteed successful of doing whatever you want, and there's no risk of failure, what would you do? Either right now or down the road. Where do you see yourself going? And I've asked myself that question a number of times, and for some reason this time that I heard it a few weeks ago really impacted me, and I started seriously thinking about what I had planned for myself in the near future, what I had planned for myself during this year, and the vision I have for myself down the road. And it turned out that a number of the things that I had committed to, just on my own for my business, didn't show up on the list. They were not things that I actually wanted to spend my time doing. And then I got some real good guidance from my energy healer, who said through what came through her was that my guides were telling me to stop, like outright stop focusing on creating this online program that I had been working on. And so that was interesting. I had been getting nudges, but I didn't want to listen to them. So when I was contemplating this question, and I kept on contemplating it over days and weeks, and I was kind of surprised by the answer that showed up. So it's a valuable question to check in with on a regular basis. If you could do whatever you wanted, and it would make you feel fully alive and energized, and you had 0 chance of failing and 100% guarantee of being successful, what is it that you would do? How would you live your life? And for me, I was thinking of this question in a combination of both business-wise, like where do I see courageous self-care going, and also personally, like what is it that I have discovered that I absolutely love to do, that I've given myself permission to do? What is it that how would I craft the perfect life for myself? It gave me some fascinating answers. And so I highly recommend that you also take some time to contemplate that for yourself. What comes up might surprise you. Another thing that I haven't shared yet, but I feel like I'm going to share it now, is in my answer to that question. I've been doing coaching for the past 6 years now, coaching clients personally, and that never came up in my answer of how I would love to be spending my time. And so for me, I realized there is a huge difference between teaching and facilitating and coaching. I absolutely love teaching. That's why I love doing this podcast. I love facilitating live events and workshops. I love putting things together, big things. I've learned that about myself over the last few months. So online stuff and coaching never came up in my answer. I gave myself permission to let both of those go, even though I have invested so much time and energy into conveying that that's what I do and planning for it and monetizing it and marketing it. I've put a ton of energy into that. But as soon as I gave myself permission to let those go, oh my gosh, it was like a weight was lifted off my being. And my husband has been commenting to me ever since, wow, I think it's really good that you let those things go because you feel so much lighter. So that is a powerful question. I encourage you to ask it of yourself and take time to write down the answers. That is the best way to go about doing it. If you are highly opposed or are not going to make time to do it, then at least think about it. It's a great way to spend your time rather than listening to the news or the darkness of what's going on in the world. Instead, why don't you be of service to the world instead of listening to everyone else's problems? Figure out how you can be in service and lift the world up with your light. And the best way to do that I know how is to answer that question. Once more, if you could do anything, if you could craft your life to be exactly what you wanted, and you had a 100% chance, 100% guarantee of being successful in it, what would you do? And even though we don't have that guarantee, isn't it something that's worth working towards? Because a life that is best lived is a life where you have felt fully alive and energized. We don't want to be doing things that are sucking our soul. And your ego, your mind, your monkey mind is going to come up with 1,001 reasons why you need to keep doing what you're doing. And I invite you to just open the door a little bit to the possibility that life could actually be different, because it's getting clear on what it is that we do want. And often we are very disconnected from what we want out of our lives. We are quite connected with our discontent. We're connected with our loneliness. We're connected with what we don't want. And you can look to how you complain about things to see what you're discontented with. So this is the final action step I want to offer you, is to make a list of things in your life that you don't love. Get it all out. From the little nitpicky things, like the stuff that needs to be fixed that hasn't been fixed, or something you've been settling for. It can be around your living space. It can be in your career or your business. It can be in your relationships. In fact, I suggest just making this giant list of all the things that you don't love about your life. That will give you clarity in the first step of this process. And then to get connected with what you do want, this is the harder part that people struggle with. You just go through the list again and write down the opposite of what is on your list. So, for example, in my home, there is a painting that is not framed, and it has been living on top of the fridge so that we would go out and get it framed. And it bugs me that it is not framed. So that would go on my list. The painting that is not framed. And then the opposite of the painting sitting on top of the fridge that is not framed would be get the painting framed and hanging. That is the clarity of what I want for that particular object and experience in my house. I would rather be looking at the painting framed and enjoying it rather than it causing me to feel annoyed that it hasn't been done yet. So that's a little thing. Also on the list could be a really big thing. So I did this last year. I got clear on what it was that I didn't love about living in the home that we were living in. And I made a list of what I would rather have. I would rather have a hot tub than no hot tub. I would rather not shovel snow than be shoveling the snow. I would rather have less stuff than have all this clutter. I got really clear on that. And then we found a home that is everything that was on my list of what I had connected with as a vision for myself. And even better. It's better than I ever could have imagined. Like now we even have heated underground parking and a car wash in our parkade. These are things that I couldn't even have imagined that I would want. But when you get clear and you physically write down what it is you would like to be moving towards, you get connected to your vision for yourself, the universe will give you all of that and more. You can do it with relationships. Where are you at now in your relationships? What bugs you about them? Or maybe there's a lack of them. So then you would write down the opposite instead of having this frustrating, annoying, low vibrational, low energy experience with this person in my life. What I would rather have is laughter and conversation that makes me feel good about myself, and conversation where I can make the other person feel good about him or herself. And we spend time together where I just feel so uplifted and happy. So do you see what you're doing? You're getting out you're writing down what you don't want anymore, and then you write the opposite. And if you need a thesaurus to help you embellish and get really good, juicy words on your list of what you do want, then I encourage you to use one. The one I like is powerthesaurus.com. I didn't know that I was going to give you a thesaurus resource, but this is what happens. I write down what I want to say, and then I embellish, and then you get to hear it. Okay, so that's how you're going to dump the discontent and the loneliness, how you're going to get rid of the stagnation and the boredom. You are going to get connected. This is the foundational skill set of courageous self-care, of getting connected. There are so many ways that we feel disconnected, but there are so many ways, exactly the opposite, of how we can get connected. It is super important as a human being to feel connected. It's one of our core needs, to belong, to feel connected to others, to feel connected to ourselves. And so I invite you to tune in over the next few weeks. I'm going to be giving you some more ideas and action steps on how to do that in different areas of your life. For today, to recap, you are going to take action. That is how you dump the discontent and loneliness. And you're going to ask yourself the big question, if I could do anything, what would I do? With 100% guarantee of being successful. And then the second thing you're going to do, you're going to take some time, schedule in this self-care for yourself, this courageous self-care. Your mind is going to convince you that you don't need to do it, that you don't have time, you're too busy. Who cares what that part of your mind says, okay? Just do this for yourself. This is courageous self-care in action. You're going to write the list of everything you don't like in your life that you've been settling for and that no longer serves you, and then you're going to write out the opposite. And that is enough. Having that list of what you actually want, I encourage you to read it from time to time, to get connected with it, to envision it for yourself, and you will be amazed at how those things start to show up in your life, because it doesn't serve us to be just clear on what we don't like. We need to know what we want. And so moving forward into the future, get clear on what you do want. Get connected with your desire for yourself, your purpose, yes, your passion. Get clear on how you can move into a life where you feel fully alive and energized. That is what I want for you. Imagine a world where everyone was feeling fully alive and energized and moving into and receiving and allowing their best version of themselves to come through. Oh my gosh, that would be amazing. That's what I want. So I encourage you to take action on these tasks that I have assigned you and watch how your life gets better and better. I would love to offer you a community to join with like-minded people who are doing this very thing. It is the Courageous Self-Care Facebook community. I invite you to join us in that community. The link is in the description, or you can just search out Courageous Self-Care Community on Facebook. It's an amazing community. There are experts in there who align with self-care, who will answer your questions on all of their various topic areas. I do regular teachings in there. It is a great place to be. And then there are also all sorts of members who you can connect with so that you don't feel discontented and lonely. All right. That is what I wanted to say to you today. Thank you so much for listening. I look forward to connecting with you again next time as we discover more ways to dump that discontent and move into deep connection so that your life feels so yummy and exciting and at the same time peaceful and grounded. All of this can work into a great life filled with courageous self-care. I look forward to connecting with you again next time. Bye-bye for now.